Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Blue Stinger. In the last part we reached the top of the Kimratech Tower near the center of Dinosaur Island, and now it's time after this last save point up here that we go finish this whole thing off.
Good.
Great dialogue, A+, and it's hard to tell, but the moment that you see that, they spawn over here.
Elliot.
Janine.
I need 3 minutes to set up the rifle. Another 45 seconds to aim and fire 3 rounds. Can you hold off the monsters for that long?
Let's do it.
One last timer for the road. We got 2 completely invincible humanoid enemies. They cannot be killed, they can't be knocked off the platform. You just have to survive. Janine has her own health bar, and if that's reduced, game over. With that said, this is the moment I've been waiting for. This is when the Gatling Gun gets to get some good love. Because you don't need to move, the homing's good enough that, as long as you time your shots well, you'll just continuously knock them back, and they'll never get a chance to do anything. With that said, you can be a little lenient with the timer. Say if you get hit here and there's like 20 to 40 seconds left, you can probably step away and, as whoever, eat a steak plate or some other item to restore your health. Janine will take some damage, but she honestly has so much health that she can take a couple of hits in the last 40 seconds and probably not die, in my experience. Also, something I'm surprised I haven't mentioned yet. Obviously, this game's sound design has been questionable overall, but I think easily the weirdest quirk about it is how the area music plays through cutscenes. Like, they don't stop it and play some cutscene music. In fact, if there's any cutscene music, they just played over the already playing area music, albeit they lower the volume of the main area music a little bit, and that bothers the hell out of me. From what I recall, the other game that these developers are known for, Illbleed, is a little bit better in that regard, in that cutscenes have their own dialogue, and I think the audio balancing is in general better too. Mind you, in terms of mechanics, Illbleed is a weirder game, but honestly more competent as it is. Probably because they didn't try to make a Resident Evil, they tried to make something unique, and because of that they didn't exactly have anything good to compare it to, so to speak. Otherwise, this section kinda drones on. Cool background though. And also, you might be able to tell just based off the camera angle, the rare instance where the original Japanese camera system with the moving camera comes into play right here. Because otherwise it's all behind the back. I'm glad they realized that it was better to use this camera angle for this, because if I had to deal with a behind the back camera here, that could be a nightmare trying to keep track of both of these humanoid enemies at once. Also allows you to see that totally not very impressive animation of Janine adjusting the sniper rifle. Cool. With that said, like I mentioned in the last parts, the top of this tower is by and large a point of no return already. So if you do save up here and you don't have much ammo or health items, save on a different slot than your last save, wherever that may be, as in case you need to backtrack, it's just going to be faster for you to, say, reload the save from the bottom of the tower and go to the Hella Market from there, than do whatever else. And again, if you feel like you need to, just use a health item right about, honestly, probably right about now, and you'll be completely fine. If you're wondering why I didn't speed this section up, I didn't want this LP to have a video that falls below 15 minutes, really. I like the sweet spot between 16 and 23 on average. Steak plate. Ow, invincibility frames, you failed me for the last time. Admittedly, in its own way though, unloading this Gatling gun into these things that can't die is a form of satisfying I can't even begin to explain the catharsis of. How did that enemy reach me there? What on earth? The range of their attacks is very odd. With that said, the timer's about to be up, so make sure you're all ready, that you got whatever weapon you want to use for the final boss equipped. I'd recommend the rocket launchers on either character. Railgun if you don't have dogs is maybe, as it'll probably allow for better mobility.
Here we go!
So now they can be pushed off.
What the hell? Get down! Beat him, Neffy!
Please!
What the? Look at the lab wall!
Final boss fight is Jaskiny itself, sort of. Get on with that in a little bit. Only has 2 attacks from my memory. If you're too close to it, it'll kick, but its main attack is to use Fire Breath. It can rotate around to 3 general perspectives to fire this at you, and the fire's range is a lot more than you'd initially expect. Main weapon to use here is absolutely Dogs' rocket launcher if you had enough to buy it from the Hello Market. Otherwise, use Elliot's rocket launcher, the railgun, whatever you have. Use hamburgers or steak plates as your main healing items here, because otherwise nothing else is going to be able to keep up with the damage the Fire Breath can do, since it can hit multiple times. But otherwise, a good strategy is actually to stay a little bit closer to it, as not only does that allow you to rotate more easily around the big hitbox, because they were at a smaller cone at that point, but the kick, while it doesn't have like much in terms of recharge time, is very short range. Now, I say maybe Jaskiny, because by and large, the Jaskiny that Nephilim is fighting should be, from around the perspective of the camera right now, behind us. So is this meant to be the clone of this thing we saw back in the Xenobiological Laboratory on the way through towards the crater or something? I don't know. Implications here are a little bit vague. During the last third or so of its health, it falls into the ground. It can no longer kick. I think it might have an arm swipe attack if you get too close, but otherwise, just keep on hammering with those rockets and it should die pretty quickly. It's honestly a pretty easy final boss. There's not even a second phase. But honestly, a final boss like this is only fitting to the rest of this game's quality. Let's be completely frank with ourselves here. Let's end off, as we have the entire game, with one nice, refreshing drink of Hassie. That's refreshing.
It's over. Nephilim.
Oh, hi, Tim.
Goodbye, Nephilim.
That's it? No, what happened to the characters after that? No, turns out Elliot was truly in love with Nephilim the entire game and lived the rest of his life forever pining for that which he could not have? Nothing like that? God, man, this game's story is awful. But that's Blue Stinger. It's not good. As a survival horror game, or even kind of action game, it's just very mechanically awkward, weird to control. The areas are very samey in a lot of regards, and they get way too narrow later on for the camera system in the US version. But I won't lie, there is a certain earnestness that you can tell it's trying that I can't help but admire. It's definitely a game worth at least a playthrough in my eyes, just for Dogs as a character, because I legitimately find him entertaining. But everything else, not so much. If you want to play it, it is on Dreamcast, but I don't think there was ever any future ports or anything. Unlike, for instance, the developer's other game, Illbleed, that was meant to get an Xbox port. This never did. Neither did that, to be honest, but that's because of the company kind of closing down. It's an interesting game with some legitimately good things in it, I feel. I think graphically for Dreamcast, especially early Dreamcast, this is great looking. The music, while it loops weird, the audio balancing is weird and all that, the actual compositions I honestly like, except for the Hello Market theme, so the fact that it's in the credits pisses me off. Mind you, that's just because that being one of the best places to grind in the game for so much of it, you hear the song a little bit too much for the human sanity to take hold. It's an interesting game. At the end of the day, I suppose, is the best way to put it. Far from the worst one I ever played, but definitely clunky enough that, unless you probably grew up with it, it's not one I would recommend going back to revisit unless you are super curious. Or if you're interested in the swimsuit mode, if you're super horny. I would have liked to see a sequel to it, though, in some odd way, because I feel a sequel to iron out some of the issues could have been legitimately good. Because this is clunky in a way that a lot of first games in a series are, barring the story elements. So it could have been interesting to see a sequel to this done, or even a remake, but I doubt we'll see either, honestly, ever. And in a way, that's a shame, but at the same time, like, there are some things that are just better left in the past. Games like this are probably amongst them. Elliot's personality is definitely amongst them. Yeah, honestly, I think my biggest missed opportunity here with the story, like, no post-credit scene with Dogs and Elliot being like, "You married my daughter. I'm gonna kill you," kind of shit. I mean, yeah, it would be super generic, but it would have been funny, because Dogs is legitimately humorous. I think there is good in this game. It's just surrounded by so much meh. And it seems there's a little bit of a trend recently where I'm doing a lot of meh. Like I did at Comic Zone, which is great, Echo Knight, which is great, but I did Sonic 3D Blast, which at the end of the day, kind of in the middle on. There's this. The only way this could get worse is if somehow I ended up playing one of my least favorite games ever made. Glances at what the next LP is. Oh, shit. No hints for now. You'll see it tomorrow or Monday, whatever happens next. And, well, let's just say the word blue is very relevant to it, so to speak. Only one little note to go off on, and that's the fact that there is, for some reason in this game, a post-credit scene, which kind of unusual for the era in a lot of ways, but oh well. Go off, game. Let's see what you got for us. If Nick Fury doesn't walk in to welcome Dogs to the Avengers Initiative, you're failing me.
Are you sure about that?
Surprise! Neffy was part of it the whole time. I'm not sure if the implication is that Neffy's of the same species of Jaskini, just the female equivalent, and that's like their whole mating ritual, or if it's some sort of ongoing evolutional game. We're never going to get resolution to that, because there is no next adventure. After you beat the game, you're given your clear time and the option to save. This is what loads you into New Game Plus. You start the game over with, from my memory, all of the weapons and money you had at the end of your last game. I think even the ammunition. The only thing you'd lose is probably the key items from memory. It's a thing. I don't recommend doing it. New Game Plus files are marked as yellow in the save selection rather than green. But with that, I'm going to need to end this LP off here. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great night. Take care. And I'll see you guys next Let's Play. And unfortunately, I know exactly what it is. See you guys then.